of Tashi, going through Blanchimont, and up there chicane where he's gonna brake really late, and he's gonna go to the inside to try and avoid the collision, but oh, so close, and there was some contact, but he did well to avoid a major accident.
I think Kulina got a little bit of dirty tires on the curb, as you can see.
Maybe on a good lap. But it would be interesting to see if Zidek can steal a pole from Stratos, who has proven himself to be a very good driver in the race sessions. But Zidek improves, and Stratos does not improve. So that means that Zidek takes pole at a topless with a 54.7 on the last few seconds of qualifying. What an amazing performance from the Slovakian driver. Cars are on the grid, 22 laps for Topolis. We hope it's gonna be a clean race with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. And it's lights out and away everyone goes. If Gidek gets a decent start and Stratos gets a not so decent start. But Gidek has, I think it's clear of the Stratos, and he actually is clear going down to turn 1. As we see some incidents behind with 2 cars sliding, Vashkot goes off in the grass, and I think that was Tashi, no, it's Turok, who was sideways on the entry to turn 1. You see the replay of the entire battle. Some some aggressive attacking from uh the HRT drivers. Some aggressive defending with Gavin never wanted to lift off. He just got cut off. So it was certainly an interesting way to defend. And then Larko sent at the last moment, probably thinking that Jekaros was braking too early. Frustrating for him. So, see the replay. Vashkot, who was in P10, going down to the sweeping right-hander, hits the grass on the brake, and that's gonna be really. That's frustrating. From the start with Turok sending down the inside at the penultimate corner, and that was a pretty aggressive move. Shoved him out. But let's go over to Ferreira, who sent it down the inside on in turn 1. See that one more time with Ferreira doing a late send on the Hungarian driver, and that was interesting. Ferreira was pretty close to the curve. He goes off. He gets hit. Wait, he doesn't get hit. He ghosting, and he hits the walls on both ends. What a heartbreak. Let's see this again with Gida coming out of the pits on very cold tires, and Stratos trying to be optimistic. Yeah, it was optimistic. He wasn't confident on the brakes, and there was contact, but there was some, which was a beautiful move down the inside for these positions if things stay like this. But Toro surely has to pit, because it seems like his tires are not going to the end from a lap ago. Let's see that again with Tashi pretty much let him by everyone. Similarly to not previous tires. We're gonna see that move again from Piakos, which was a pretty simple move. No complicated moves, just pulls to the inside and overtakes him on the braking, which is something that we like to see. Pretty bad shape. Let's see from one lap ago, hit the switchback that Laku put on him with Tara going really zero on exit, and Laku taking the opportunity. A bit of a shove, but it wasn't like a massive shove. Just a little tap. But is he gonna be able to keep the position? Will he send it? Luigo is very wide, and that will allow Ferreira to get closer and closer alongside. They go side by side, going to the sweeping section. But who's gonna come on top? Is it gonna be Ferreira with the pass around the outside? It is gonna be Ferreira with the pass around the outside to get up to P9. So a well calculated move for the Portuguese driver to overtake Louis, serve the penalty, and re-overtake him again to gain one more point, which could turn out to be useful in the late part of the championship. A dominant drive from the Slovakian driver who wins the third round at top list ahead of Stratos, who cannot manage to win 3 races out of 3. But Zidek does what he did what he needed to do, and he gains some points ahead of Stratos. Pole, fastest lap, and the race win. I'm going to do most laps led. Laco takes a well-deserved 3rd place. Piakos gets 4th. Turok gets an incredible P5 with barely front left tire left. Turok takes P6. Tashi P7 with a no stopper. Zekeres P8 after that disappointing start. Ferreira takes P9. Louis takes the final points position. Tokesh P11 after a somewhat frustrating start. Stirbu, who was running P7 at some point, after that crash, was relegated down to P12 with damage and a pit up for tires. So Stirbu ends up in P12 after a frustrating race, and Santo Peter P13. But what an amazing drive from Zidek. A dominant drive from the Slovakian driver who wins the 3rd round at top list ahead of Stratos, who cannot manage to win 3 races out of 3. But Zidek does what he did what he needed to do, and he gains some points ahead of Stratos. Pole, fastest lap, and the race win. I'm going to do most laps led. Laco takes a well-deserved 3rd place. Piakos gets 4th. Turok gets an incredible P5.
Then they are definitely an AI. So I believe with that, we've had all the drivers across the line. So there we go. Qualifying is indeed over. Sauder Audi gets the only 143 on the timing sheet to go top of the timing tables, ready for the race. So teammates once again sitting at the top of the grid. Let's see whether they can work together or not to try and take home a victory here today. I'm not too sure. And now it is waiting, just getting everybody into double file. I'm pretty sure most people are there and ready. We get ready to go green. It's green, green, green. We are go. And it's going to be a fairly awful start, to be honest, for Sauder Audi. He's all of a sudden got 3 drivers. I think it's going to be 3 right into turn 1. Could possibly be 4 if Marco could try and get himself around the outside here. He is going to try and go for it on Cockney. Can he get it done? Not quite. So after all of that shenanigans, it remains the same at the top of the timing sheets. Everybody remaining in position for now. No one dares to go too overboard right off of the bat, and I don't blame them, to be honest. That just seems like a recipe for disaster, if I'm being brutally honest. Most drivers running single file as of right now. Nobody really wants to go too much remove. A couple of people sort of eyeing up moves. A couple of people went defensive through that corner. Can he get past? He's going to have to go to the inside. If he does indeed go to the inside. Is he going to get the braking zone done nicely? It's very neatly done. The reds, the fronts lighting up in a deep red. Just getting under pressure from Massa. He's going to have to dip inside the slipstream once again. Can he make this move stick? He's going to go to the inside once again. Is it going to be a nice rinse and repeat? No, it's going to have to be a little bit more challenging this time around. Can Massa get it? He's tussling tit for tail with Pajor, who's going to have the outside line for this corner. Massa gets the good inside line, gets a good run out, and yes, does indeed get himself in front. So Massa from P6 to P4 in a matter of 2 laps. That is something you cannot complain about. Interesting. I mean, he was in a good position, go for a move, but elected not, he was in a good move to try and, stay in a defensive position, but he's elected not to go for it and let Pajor through. How peculiar. Look, so they're running side by side, easily side by side, and then he just completely lets off power and lets him through. So he's going to be able to get that speed to come alongside. He's pushing him to absolutely the minimal amount of space that he can give. And that's really well defended. Kiss, that is a textbook defensive move. Down the main, do run top to tail down the main straight. Massa isn't particularly going defensive. Chokne might be able to get a move done here, but he's gonna have to be quite slow to get in and up in the fight. But he's braked a hell of a lot later. Can he get it done? They're gonna run side by side now, down through turn 2 and into 3. Is it gonna be enough? He's gonna have slight advantage into the braking zone. Is it enough for Chokne? Eager move, to say the least. Here we go. So if we stay on board with the GCT driver, we'll be able to see him put the brakes in and sort of see how he's judged this. No brakes. No brakes. That kind of, that sums that up. Not exactly what we want to see. That's not the sportsmanship that we advocate for. As he's just much quicker. So Kiss, I think, was coming out of the pit lane, literally right back into the battle that he was in before. He's not been spared. The driver makes a mistake, perhaps. The Sauder is having a look to go down the inside. He's forced Marco to go wide a little bit, and I think he has managed to pull that move off right where I've said that we wanted. Second to last corner, and I think, had a look, but thought otherwise. Thought, oh no, that's just a little bit too risky. I don't really want to. He spun round. A little bit of contact, I think, there might have been made as Pajor just loses the rear end going through that left-hander, sort of on corner entry. Interestingly enough, we'll just check a replay of that once again. As Chokne, he looked to try and go for a move up the inside. Whether he made a slight bit of contact or not, I'm not 100% sure. I didn't see it fully. That might be, that might be a little bit of contact, hence why Pajor just got a little bit loose out of that corner, just slid across. Half a second behind. He's closer than he's been for a long time. He's just going to have to try and make a move at a bit more of an unconventional place. Is he going to be able to try and make it work? He's not going to be able to go for a move here, but he definitely does close in. It's so close between these two drivers. We got just basically half a lap remaining. We move into sector 2 now, as we have a little bit of a nightmare in video feed. It's all breaking down right at the wrong moment. It's absolute tragedy, but Marco is still keeping close. Sauder running quite wide through that corner. It takes a very late apex to try and extend his acceleration out of the corner, which will be something that he wants to do so desperately, because that will not allow Marco to be able to get a move down a straight of any means necessary. Marco is going to have to put in an absolutely phenomenal move here. He's going to have to try and gain massively in some corner or another if he wants to try and pull this off. We've got less than a sector remaining, as Marco just trying to keep it on track at the moment, absolutely nailing it through there. Sauder is making the most of the track, just running even just ever so slightly onto the grass in certain circumstances, as both drivers nailing the ins and the outs of this entire track. Absolutely masterfully done through both of these corners, and it means that neither of them are going to gain or lose any time to each other. So I can fairly confidently say that Sauder wins at Japan.
Sorry. So, welcome everyone to the third round, actually fourth round of the Zero Evolution Semi-Pro Championship. I'm Mark Albertini, and for this round, I'm unfortunately gonna be alone again in the commentary box. But I'm pleased to commentate this round. It's Man Panorama, fourth round of the Semi-Pro Championship. And we're now qualifying this very awesome track. We didn't have much time to do the intro, unfortunately. But I want to thank Baji, who is directing the live stream, and is doing an awesome job at it. But as we're in qualifying, I'm gonna take you, the viewer, around the lab of Mount Panorama, as we're expecting Daniel Stirbu, the Romanian rookie, who has been doing well, save for oh, yeah, there's a track. It's a pretty long track. It's a complicated one, like 6 kilometers, 22 turns, 16 laps, no mandatory tires, and where's our false check? There's a car, the Mazda 3 Group 4. We've seen this car be able to produce some good racing in the last few races, and we hope they can provide another good race. But the main talking point about this car are the front tires that consume a lot during the race. So drivers always have to be careful with the front tires, and we're probably gonna see something this round, as we've seen in Barcelona and Autopolis. But yeah, beautiful car, but it's not so easy on the drivers, especially during a long race distance. And the last current driver standings, Katsaros on 61 points, leading by 12 points over Zidek, who took the win in the last round of Autopolis. Turuk is third, a long way back, actually 20 points back, and behind him is Nagi, just 3 points back, and Tashnadi with 19 points. Here's a previous result with Zidek taking the fastest lap and the pole and the win. But now we're gonna go to quali. As we've done, we're taking the downhill S's, a very tricky part of the track that catches a lot of drivers out. As he goes down to Forest Elbow, a corner named after a motorcycle rider scraped his arm in that corner. But it's a very tricky corner for every single car because you're braking downhill for a pretty slow corner. But now you're going up to the chase, which used to be a very long straight, but due to safety concerns, they had to make this chicane out of it, which is good for overtaking, and it has a pretty long braking zone. It can take a lot of curb on the inside and on the outside. You have to be careful, because if you take a curb on the other two sides, then you're probably going to get into the grass, and that's not going to help you, especially with these cars. Then the last corner, it's a 90-degree corner, but it's not a simple corner because the gravity works against you and it's trying to push off the track. But as we begin our lap, turn 1 is a 90-degree corner that is very tricky. It dips on the like near the curb, and it causes chaos in close starts. But we go on board with Turok, who's currently P4. But Zidek is on pole with a 13.3. But let's watch Turok as he goes to turn 2. Actually, let's watch Turok who's currently P5. As he does the long straight that goes up and down to turn 2. It's a long straight, but it goes up and down because there's a hill. And because turn 2, it's a medium speed corner, but it's pretty tricky on the exit, especially with these cars. Cause yeah, as we can see, the Turok hit the wall, after taking a very wide exit. Then there's turns 3 and 4, which are pretty tricky corners because you have to brake while turning. And turn 4 isn't exactly one of the easiest corners you can do, as Toradocti hits the wall again. And the mountain part is pretty tough. Like this section, you have to kind of live through there, and you have to be picture perfect with your distance to the walls, because every inch matters. It's almost like a street circuit. That's because it is. This track is a street circuit when it's not being used by races. It's part of it's a street circuit, but it doesn't feel like it. And you can get speeding tickets if you speed, because this road is normally patrolled. But again, a bit off track, but it's just talk about the track. But Turkci had a pretty decent mountain section, and then it's going down to the chase. He's still 1.1 seconds off the pole, and he is not improving. He's 3/10 red on his time, so that he's trying to get a very good last sector to end off the lap. Laps are pretty long, so you only get a few laps to do your qualifying. But so far, Turek improves. Shotters takes provisional pole with 12.8. Stratus certainly not giving up on his championship run. Locker has joined the room meanwhile. Pihakas is currently P3. Tarek P4. Stirbu P7. And Louis, our great friend, in P8. Darts are still setting up laps, some in the 216s, but only one, from what I can see, in the 212s, being Stratos, the Greek-German, racing on their German flag, but shown by the graphics in the pre-race is Greek. So, yeah, Sitarak being pretty close to the walls now. He's not hitting any walls, but he may encounter traffic as there's a car in front, which may or may not obstruct his lap. But he's not improving at the moment as he goes down to the dipper, which is a very, very tricky part of the track. As he goes down to 4-7, it's a very tricky section. I've said this a couple of times, but if you talk about Mount Panorama, then you're gonna talk about the downhill section a lot, because it's really hard to get it right, and to get it perfectly, it takes a lot of talent and a lot of commitment. But still not improving on his lap. But so he's then the guy behind by. I think that's a CGTC man. Better not take his slipstream. Don't want to get a penalty. So yeah, he's done everyone by. Just to be a good guy and not taking his slipstream. Should have improved, and there's a 14.9. While Turok is about to start a new lap. But while there have been no improvements at the front, with only Shirbu being the only one who improved on his lap, and he currently is still improving. Then personal best sector 1, and he's also leading the pack in a way. And yeah, this is the final lap for everyone. So everyone has started the final lap in qualifying. We got only 10 minutes of qualifying. So we're gonna see some interesting stuff go on with many drivers wanting to improve on their qualifying positions. When I watching Steel would take the mountain section, uphill, downhill, it's all fun, but you have to be really precise if you want to go qualifying. You may have the race space, but qualifying does matter on this track, especially in these races, because getting stuck in the mountain section behind someone isn't ideal, because you can be blinded by it, and it may crash. Again, so yeah, Stirbe taking the final few corners of the mountain section, going down to the forest elbow corner. Throwing pretty well out of it. Going up to 4th gear, and taking the chase, the very long straight going into the, which you can also name the chase, if I remember correctly. I do apologize if I get the corner names wrong, but Stirbu is improving by 4/10, and he may try and go for a P6 or better. It's all depending how the rest of his lap goes. We got one more corner to go after this, so Stirbu on the attack for a possible top 5 start in his first season in the semi-pro division. So Stirbu on the final corner, is he gonna improve? Is he gonna improve? It crosses the line and he improves and takes momentarily P5. Zidek also improves but doesn't manage to steal the pole from Stratos. Pihakos stays in 3rd. Taruk doesn't manage to improve and stays in P4. What about Tamash Torokci? He improves and steals P5 from Daniel Stirbu. So the Romanian will have to settle for a P6 star unless Tassi improves, and Tassi does not manage to improve. Let's check on Toby XB, the Portuguese driver, who is currently P9 and is looking to improve on his lap. He improves on his lap. Soon Louis P8. And we got one more driver across the line, and it's Sato Peter, who takes P9 away from Louis. So Louis went from P8 to P10 in the final part of qualifying. So here we have the qualifying results. Stratos, Zidek, Piakas, Turok, Stirbu, Tashi, and Toby XB. First 4 all within a second, but the Stratos is establishing dominance once again on the field by taking our pole with a pretty large margin. So it's gonna be interesting if Zidek manages to overtake him during the race, as we know that Stratos is a pretty good, pretty fast guy in race pace, along with being a pretty fast qualifier. So we're gonna go on a little break. So we'll see you later. Okay, welcome back to this round of the ZIRA Evolution Championship for division. We had to reset the grid, but we're in the grid with 2, 3, 4 lights, 5 lights. Standard start bat first, and it's lights out and away we go. And Stratus doesn't get a good start with G-Deck taking first position momentarily, but Stratus has it inside line for the corner, and there's contact already behind, and G-Deck goes off. G-Deck goes off. The championship rival, currently P2 in the standings, goes off after some contact that happened in the break-in for turn 1. So, second place in championship goes from 2nd to 11th through no fault of his own. It'll be interesting to see what happened. Oh, there's some contact going up to turn 2. Still no major incident, but it makes you wonder what happened in turn 1 and in turn 2. But Toby XP is already up to 5th after trying PA, but there's Truck still trying to make a move down on the inside, and he actually makes a stick in turn 4. But there's Louis behind trying to attack Toby XP, and Louis started in P10, but there's Jirbu who started P6 and is angry, and he's aggressive, he's trying to take the position back. Along with Jidak, who is already up to 9th after being 11th out of the first corner. So wonder if Locker had an incident between turns 2 and 3. But Stratos is leading already by a wide margin over Piakos and Turukti, along with Stato Peter, who is up to P4 with Stirbu really aggressive, and Tashi in last along with Lako. So Lako and Tashi must have had an incident between turns 1 and 2. But we're gonna go back to Stato Peter, who had an amazing start and went from P9 to P4 already on the first lap. But Tarek seems to be faster and is trying to see where he can overtake him. But it's not the time to do that, as Tarek might not be close enough to attempt to move. As we end off the first lap with Stratos leading, Piakas second, Turkti third, Statopeter in fourth, and we have a replay somewhat of what happened at the start. And we see a lot of smoke here, but we're now expecting Louis, who gained some crucial positions at the start, and oh, we don't have a replay. Okay. So still spectating Louis, who is currently P7, going up to turn 2, and Tora gets by Sato Peter. So Sato Peter drops down to P5 and is now in the hands of Toby XB, who will try and make a move, but Tora goes very wide, going to turn 4. But that doesn't allow Peter to get near him. But he breaks. Sato Peter interestingly breaks for the uphill section, and that will allow Toby XP to get closer and closer as corners go by. As seems like that Peter might be struggling with pace, and as Toby XB is already within half a second of the Hungarian driver, as we finish off the mount section for the second time. Peter gets a penalty, a 1 second penalty for corner cutting in the downhill part, and he's not gonna be happy about it, as that penalty is often regarded as unfair by a lot of Gran Turismo drivers. But Peter is gonna have to surrender the 5th place to Toby XB already on the second lap, and is also gonna be in the hands of Louis and Daniel Stirbu, who are close behind. But there is a battle for P7 between Stirbu, Louis, and Zidek, with Louis having to defend from Stirbu, but he doesn't. He manages to get alongside him, but it's not enough. And there's 3, and they go 3 wide before the final corner. And I wonder who's gonna come on top, with Stirbu having to lift, and Zidek currently in P7. So it looks like that Stirbu lost 2 positions, and Zidek is possibly coming out on top after this one, and looks like it as Zidek finally completes the move and gets himself up to P7, while Louis drops down to P8, with Stürber dropping down to P9. So already taps completed, and Zidek is already on the move, trying to limit the damages that he suffered lap 1, as there's contact behind with Stürber going to the back of Louis in turn 2, but nothing too major. So the next target for Zidek is Peter, who's really close to him. I think around half a second or so. As you see Tarak now, ToyBXB, and Peter already 1.5 seconds behind ToyBXB. As we go, let's have a rundown of the field. Actually, Tashi in P11, Locker P10. Tarak taking the downhill braking section, pretty nicely indeed. Taking a save just so he doesn't get a penalty. Still improving on his personal best lap, but interestingly enough, Pihakas has the fastest lap, and I honestly expected Stratus to have it, since Stratus is known for being very fast in the race, and there's a lap behind with Stürber and Louis, with Stürber coming out on top at the end of the mountain section. So Louis back down to P9, while Zidek is on the attack. Zidek is on the attack of Sato Peter, going down to the chase. So Zidek has the inside for the corner, and looks like he's gonna complete the move, and he does. And Zidek is already up to P6 after 2.5 laps. As a replay of it, was a clean move down the inside, which fortunately didn't make him lose a lot of time. So his next target is I think ToyBXB, the Portuguese driver. So Sato Peter already on the attack, already on the defense from Daniel Stürber. So Peter is losing positions at a very fast rate right now, with Stürber managing to take 7th away from the Hungarian driver. So the remaining rookie is doing his thing of being clean and fair with his moves, as Louis is trying to get closer to Sato Peter so he can take the position away, and 30 gap between 30 half-second gap between the two, with Louis taking advantage of it, as Peter interestingly brakes for that part while everyone lifts. So it's gonna be a massive gain to for Louis. I'm just seeing the gap. Oh, Peter has a massive movement, and Louis goes down the inside. But is he able to make the move stick? Yeah, he is. He is. And Louis does a very bold move down the inside outside of the downhill braking section, and as you see that again with Pitt going wide before the downhill part, and Louis initially hesitant to go for it, goes for the last second and makes sure to leave enough space for his opponent. Very beautiful and very bold move, actually. I've never seen anyone do a move there ever in my life. But Louis is already up to P8, and that puts Peter back to P9. But as I was saying, I noticed that Tashi and Locker have fallen back quite a lot, with Locker sitting at 230 in the last lap. So I wonder if he hit a wall or something. He started last after having missed qualifying, and is now struggling in the race. Already 34 seconds behind the leader, who has set the fastest lap. But we're gonna go on board with Turukti, who is closing on Piakas for second place in the race. But during all of this, Stratus has taken the fastest lap. And that's not ideal for Turukti, who hits the wall out of turn 2. And Oh, and Piakas actually goes a bit wide, and that may allow Turexi to get closer to him, and that actually does allow Turexi to get closer to him. So, just half a second splitting the two, and we might end up getting a very good battle for P2. Already on lap 5, but for now it's just a chase between a Greek and a Hungarian, with the Greek being under pressure from Tamash as we go downhill for the S's. Very fast S's, even though they're kind of mid-speed, but the downhill just makes it faster than usual. And Piakos goes a bit too tight, and Taruxi goes a bit too wide. So we have two sides of the spectrum here, with the Greek driver turn a bit too early, and Taruxi not being able to turn for the corner in time. But as I say that, Zidek is already up to P5, having passed TBXB. So the Slovakian driver who started P2 and fell to the back, already up to P5. And TBXB seems like he had a penalty because Daniel Scherbo has gained a bit on him. Yeah, we have a bit of a rundown of the grid. Tashi P10, Locker P11. Yeah. So Zidek 4 seconds behind Turok. But this may just be the start of a massive comeback for the Slovakian driver, who sets a very good 13.6, which I'm guessing has some traffic in it. So it could be that Zidek might be faster than Stratus, but wasn't in the place to prove it, as he got taken out on lap 1. So purple sector 1 for the Slovakian driver. So he's just trying to steal any point away from Stratos, trying to minimize the damage and get the fast stop. That's another point. Fast stop is a point, as we know, in most competitions. And man, is he pushing? Oh, that was close. He almost hit the wall in that part. But he's already gained 8/10 on Turuk, while Turukti has been gapped quite a lot by Piakos. So the chase between the two hasn't gone well for the Hungarian driver, who now finds himself in a place where he has to gain a lot of time back. Zidek already 2.8, 2.7 behind. He was 4 seconds behind where he started the lap. So Zidek is possibly on course to finish on the podium if he keeps this pace. And it seems like he's faster than the leader. But right now he's just improving on his personal best lap as he continues to decrease the gap to P4. 2.7 seconds as we go on board with Stratos, who does a 14.3. Not very important since he has a 4.6 second lead over his teammate and Roxy. So we're almost at the halfway mark of the race, and Zidek is already closing in on the rest of the top 5. Seems like a lot of people are faster than Stratos in the first sector. Wonder if Stratos had the horrible first sector on his fastest lap. Turok just 2.4 less, 2.2 ahead of Zidek. So a move from the Slovakian driver might come in the next 2 laps or so if he keeps this pace. But the Slovakian driver on a roll have been set 2 nearly identical lap times with 13.6s. And surely on a roll, he has just started to eat the competition. as he takes the mountain section pretty well up to this point. Because on the hairby, it seems like he has lost time, half a second right on his time. So I wonder what happened to his lap. But he seems like he's faster than Stratos, just looking at the gap. Steerboot in P6, Toybixby in P7. I just missed Toybixby getting passed by him. Peter still P9, Tashi P10, Locker an interesting P11. Hasn't been quick from what it seems like. Locker has been struggling all race to get some pace. Having missed qualifying and having started last. He was running in the top 10 for a few corners, and then I'm guessing an incident happened. We never got proper replay of it, and he fell back down to P11. And I'm guessing another incident happened on lap 3, and Locker already struggling with half the race to go. So as we go back with Turukti, still 1.3 seconds behind Piakas. So Hungarian driver hasn't just had his personal best lap, isn't quite close enough to the Greek driver to justify a move. But he's getting quite close, like around 10th or so in the last corner. The gap is beginning to shrink just a little bit every lap, but time is kind of running out for them, even though we're halfway through the race. Pretty short race if you think about it, like around 30-35 minutes long. But ooh, that's the one exit from both of them. But Taruxi still manages to gain time on the Greek driver. Oh, and he goes a bit wide, but is he gonna make it stick? He looks like he's gonna make it stick, and he actually does make it stick. So Taruxi back on the hunt for second place, as Piakos hasn't gone the best of exits from the mountain section. So Taruxi on the attack, half a second, actually less, separating the two. And I see Zidek in the background on the back of Turuk, but we're gonna focus on this battle as Taruxi is on a charge now. He's gonna hope that he gets a good X out of these two corners so he can line up a move going down to turn 2. But Taruxi just 4/10 behind the Greek driver as we head towards lap 9. 3/10 separating the two now, and Taruxi sets a very good lap to assert himself as one of the fastest guys on track right now. But that doesn't seem like he's close enough to make a move, or is he? Only 2/10 separate the two as we go down to turn 2. He's not close enough to justify a move, but he may scare him as Piakas still defends the inside, so it's going to be a lower line for him, going up to the mountain section. But he manages to gap Taruxi just a little bit, just that one bit that he needed. But now Taruxi is still on the back of him, still keeping that gap close. But now it's gonna be whoever takes the mountain section good in a good way. So Piakas very close to the wall, and he's doing the right thing by taking a lot of track. That's gonna allow Taruxi to get closer to him as we go down the S's. And Taruxi still keeping that gap on us, but has a slight mistake while turning for the downhill part, and that allows Piakas to pull away that one bit, and that's useful for Piakas, who needs that bit of a breathing room, so he doesn't have to worry that much about the Hungarian driver behind him. But he's still in slipstream, and if lucky, he can get a run. But as we go back with Zidek, 1.1 seconds behind Turok, and is pretty consistent with lap times from what I can see. So Zidek might not finish on the podium, but he may get P4 if he gets into the slipstream of Turok. As I see that Turok has closed up to Piakos as we head into lap 10. So it's gonna be a battle between Piakos and Turok for P2 as they seem pretty close. Half a second separating the two. The closest battle on track we got from what I can see with Turok still trying his best to that was interesting. Still trying his best to give pressure to the Greek driver, but the Greek driver seems like he's not suffering from the pressure. As we go back to Zidek, who's on the slipstream of Turok. So we have two battles, one for second and one for fourth. With Zidek seeming like he's very fast as part of the race. As we go into the night with Piakos having to fend off Turuxi as he goes wide again. So Turuxi is still there, but that's a very wide line from the Greek driver. That's gonna allow Turuxi to get even closer if he can get a good run out of it. So Piakos on the defense. Oh, there's contact between the two, but there's very minor contact, and there is no real harm between the two. But even with the contact, Turuxi doesn't get closer to the Greek driver. We got some very feisty racing going on, coming up to 5 laps to go. And I'm suspecting that Zidek might be close to Turok, but we're gonna check on that later. I see Turuxi 4/10 behind the Greek driver. These two have been going at it for the entire race, basically. And we go back with Zidek, half a second between him and Turuxi. Sorry, and Turok. 5 laps to go. And the Slovakian driver in a good points position, but wants to minimize points loss by going on the attack for P4 with Turok seemingly not fast enough to stay ahead of him. So it's gonna be interesting. 5 laps to go. Laps are pretty long, but the overtaken spots are few. So it's gonna be interesting if Zidek can overtake Turok, or if Turok can hold him off despite being seemingly being slower. We're gonna go back ahead of the group with Turuxi and Piakos. And Piakos hits the wall and doesn't go wide before the S's. So now it's Turuxi's job to find a place to possibly overtake him, but it doesn't seem like he's getting close enough. He's gonna have to work for a good exit out of here to get even closer, but it doesn't seem like it's a good exit, but it may be a good exit as he's getting on the Greek driver. So yeah, it is a good exit from Turuxi. 3/10 separating the two. So something might happen going down to the chicane as Turuxi gets closer and closer as we go down to the chase. And Piakos defense at the last minute, very late defense from the Greek driver, but it just shows to Turuxi that he's feeling the pressure, and as Zidek overtakes Turok. So Zidek is already up to 4th, having overtaken Turok at the chicane, I think. as it's a replay of it with a pretty good move down the inside for Zidek, who takes it inside and leaves his rival just enough space to make it in. So, right. So Zidek, faster car, one of the fastest cars in the top 4 right now, is or up a position. So with okay, come checking. This is 5 laps to go. I cannot do math. So Piakos again under the attack from Zidek, sorry, from Teroxi, but Teroxi is desperately trying to find a way past. It's gonna be hard in this section as it's so tight and it's so flowing that you can't overtake anyone unless you're Louis and you just go for it. Also, speaking of Louis, he's not in the top 8 anymore with Sato Peter and Pierre right now, but let's focus on the battle for P2 as Piakos is still trying to defend, as we see a replay of the move made by Zidek on Turok just a lap ago. But Piakos is still trying to keep this beautiful second place, as there might be a chance of Zidek coming by. He's only 4.8 seconds behind, but if Visu battle it out, he might end up being there for a contention of the podium. So we currently have a two-way fight for a second, but it could end up in a three-way fight for a second if the Slovakian driver gets closer. As we go back with Tashi, who I wonder what happened to Louis. Tashi was 10th last time we checked on him. Louis has lost a lot of time to everyone basically. He's back down to P10. So Louis, interestingly, down to P10, just ahead of Locker. As we see that Tashi is on the attack of Sato Peter, going down to the chase. Tashi has the outside, but it's not enough. As Sato Peter defends pretty well. And we're gonna start lap 13 in a bit. We actually have started with the leader, but Sato Peter still trying to defend from Tashi. Tashi goes, prepares for a move on the outside of turn 1. Is he gonna make it stick? It looks like it. And there's contact between the two, but Tashi gets ahead of Sato Peter to get himself up to P8 after that horrible start that he had on lap 1. As we see the replay of it, with Tashi making a very good move around the outside of turn 1. We never really see people go for moves around the outside of turn 1 at Bathurst, and very rarely it ends in a clean way. So a beautiful move by Tashi, who gets himself up a position, gains some useful points. So 4 laps to go. With Stratus leading, Piakos second, Teroxi third, and Zidek fourth. As we go, as we see Sato Peter struggling on the front right tire, with Toby XP in 7th, just behind Anastirbu, Terox in 5th, and Zidek in 4th. Already 2.9 seconds behind Teroxi, who has lost his slipstream to Piakos. So has been an up and down race for a Hungarian driver who has been close to attacking the Greek driver ahead of him, but he has never really had the proper chance to do it, and is probably going to be under pressure by Zidek if the Slovakian driver gets closer in the last 3 laps or so. So 3 laps to go, lap 14 out of 16, and Teroxi taking the first corner pretty well actually, getting a bit on Piakos. So at the moment it's a CGTC 1-2 with Tamash in P3 and Zidek in P4. Um, but so far, nothing of note is gonna just some talented drivers going, just lapping this awesome track, this awesome complicated track in the south of Australia. Oh, and Truxi hits the wall out of turn 4, and that's not gonna be useful for him as Zidek gets closer and closer as Truxi gets further away from a chance at the second place. And that's a scruffy section for Truxi as he seems to be struggling with grip whilst Zidek is not struggling with grip, and the Slovakian driver is already 2.2 seconds behind the Hungarian driver as we finish off the mountain section. So just a quick recap: Stratos is leading, Piekos second, Truxi third, Zidek fourth, Turk fifth, Sherpa sixth, Toybetsky seventh, and Tashi in a respectable eighth. But something must have happened to Piekos as he's currently 1.9 seconds of Truxi, and Truxi wasn't exactly gaining on the Greek driver in the early part of the lap. So something must have happened to Piekos. As we're about to start lap 15, and that will mark 2 laps to go in this pretty beautiful race. As we're going over with Zidek, who is 2 seconds behind Truxi, and might need some luck if he wants to get a podium here. But Piekos seems like he's making mistakes as he's only 1.6 seconds ahead of Truxi, and Truxi was 2.0 seconds behind at the start of lap 14. So something is definitely going on with the CGTC driver, as Zidek hasn't gained much on the third place driver as we're on board with Turok right now. He goes up for turns 3 and 4, and we go with Zidek now, who is keeping the gap stable with Truxi as we speak. 2.2 seconds separating the two, but Truxi seems like he's catching up with a lap and a half to go to Piekos, and definitely seems like that Truxi might be within a second of Piekos. Yeah, it seems like there might be a battle for P2 and on the last lap, as I see that Truxi is pretty close to Piekos, and we're gonna see that in a bit. But Zidek cannot get closer to him. So, Truxi very close to Piekos, just half a second separating the two. It's been the standard gap throughout all this race, just half a second separating the two. But Truxi is not gonna let this one slip away. He has a lap and a few corners to make the move stick, and Piekos goes very wide, going into the corner, and that allows Truxi to get closer. And will he try and go around the outside? He will position himself around the outside, but that will just send him off into the grass, and that's not going to be helpful for him. And it seems like that his only shot at it, at getting second place, has been thrown in the bin. But it's the last lap, and anything could actually happen. But Truxi goes very wide on the exit of turn 1, and that allows Zidek to get closer and alongside him going down to turn 2. But Zidek has an unfavorable line, he has the outside, and I wonder who's gonna back out of it. It looks like Zidek might have to lift off there as Truxi keeps his place in a fair manner. But now Zidek knows that he can get a podium, as Truxi doesn't seem like he's not struggling with the track or the combo. But Zidek knows that he has the pace to get the podium to limit the damages. But it's gonna be interesting because Turek always was strong in this part of the track, so who knows? It may be the end. Zidek's podium hopes. But we got a few corners left to figure that out. As Turek actually pulls the gap, extends the gap, but Zidek gets a good exit. 6-10 separate in the two, but I don't think it's gonna be enough for the Slovakian driver. As Stratos is taking the chicane right now for the final time. So Stratos coming up to the final corner. The German Greek driver has been untouchable all race. Pole, fastest lap, every lap led, and the race win. Congratulations to Stratos for winning his third race of the season, ahead of his teammate Piakos, who was really close on tires towards the end, but manages to hold off Turek and get P2. With Turek taking P3, Zidek P4, Turek takes P5, while Daniel Stirbu, the Romanian rookie, takes P6. Gets a pretty good result in his fourth race in the championship. As Louis goes off, at the chicane, Toby XP gets P7 and gets some useful points. Tashi gets P8. Well, Sato Peter holds off Louis to take P9. Louis takes P10, just 1 second ahead of Locker, who takes the final position, which unfortunately doesn't award points. So, what a race it has been for the Zero Evolution Championship Semi-Pro Division, with Stratos having a dominant race, and further extend his championship lead to Zidek, as we see the results with Stratos P1 with the fastest lap, Piakos teammate in second, getting first podium of the season, Turek third, Zidek unfortunately doesn't manage to get the podium, misses out by half a second. Turek P5, Stirbu P6, Toby XP P7, Tashi P8, and I'm guessing Sato Petar in P9, Louis P10, Locker P11. So, has been a very good race, and I'm gonna leave because we're gonna share the pro race in just a bit. But I'll be racing in the pro race, so I'll leave it to the pro commentators who will do a great job at it. So we'll be going on a small break. So see you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we all doing? And welcome. My name is, as always, Carter, and you are joined here for Season 2, Round 4 of the ZIRA Evolution Championship. We are here today at what is a personal favourite of mine, just one of the coolest tracks you will ever come across. Welcome to Australia. Welcome to the deep outback in Bathurst, Mount Panorama. Should be a really fun and interesting race. But just before we get onto that, let's take a quick look at what happened last time out. Sauder went ahead and won with the fastest lap, giving him 26 points over Mark Albertini, who came obviously in second, 18 points. So it's a decent result for a lot of the drivers. It was quite close at the front, 0.4 of a second in the end. Very, very close at the front. It sort of spread out a little bit over the rest of the race, but overall, I'm going to say it was a pretty good race, and nevertheless. Here we go. Look at the track. This is just a phenomenal track, isn't it? I know a lot of you have just watched it, so I won't go over it all too much, but that tight section from about corner 9 all the way to 18 is just phenomenal. Difference here, we've got 27 laps and obviously all 4 tyre choices. Now, obviously, the car we use, the Lexus, it has been proven to be an absolute machine to cause racing and just cause general mayhem. Hopefully, for the most part, we will get some very close racing action. I know it's quite a bulky car, so through the tighter sections, it might be a little bit difficult for anybody to try and go for a move, or maybe an absolute calamity will occur. But either way, I think we should be in for a rather special treat. Now, I think most of the drivers will be on practice at the moment, and they'll be getting into qualifying in a very short period of time, if at all just now. Either way, most of the drivers, I think if they get to the point now where they're quite comfortable in this car, they've done enough racing in it, they've raced against each other enough now where they understand the limits of the cars, and I mean, that's where we start to see the championship taking place. Sauder currently still sits at the top, 44 points to his name. Papo in P2, 33. So he's got quite a big gap now. 11 points up at the top of the tables is a very good, a very healthy amount that they'll be very happy about. But then it does tighten up, doesn't it? Pajo and Chokne, 3 points between them. And it's only another 4 points back to Albertini. So it is going to be a very, very close race, a very close championship, especially for those middle positions. But ZIRA is running away with the team standings a little bit, aren't they? 30 points that gap now to ROH. Don't worry though, because we have still got 4 rounds remaining, so it shouldn't be set in stone as of yet. There is still plenty of time for everybody to still turn this around and get some points to their name. So don't think that just because we've finished so far, only 2 rounds. Obviously, it says 3. Barcelona's been moved to the right at the very end. We've only done 2 rounds of 6. So we're now getting to the point where most drivers, you know, they're beginning to get in place. They understand, you know, what they want to achieve. They understand sort of how the competitiveness of the other drivers around them, sort of what level they're at. So it should be a good, interesting watch to see now. Not only do these drivers have to tackle the fight they've got, understanding sort of where they are in the championship, how they've got to get along, but they've got to go and do it at Mount Panorama, which is just a track that I think to watch is just truly phenomenal. To drive, hell from beginning to end requires every single bit of your concentration all of the time. You do not get a respite. What makes it even worse is when it's at night, which it is. We're currently just heading out for qualifying at the moment, and it is pitch black. It is the middle of the night here in Bathurst, and this just makes it's quite a simple track. Well, no, sorry, I'm wrong there. It's quite a challenging track in the day. During the night, when these corners start creeping up on you, it's practically impossible. So this is going to certainly be a huge challenge for these drivers just to keep it on the track, let alone go and set their fastest time. So in my opinion, for a driver to succeed here in qualifying, it's going to have to be consistency. They just need to get some times on the board, even if they're not their absolute best times they've ever done around this track. They just need some times. So I think overall it's going to come down to the driver that can consistently put on the pace. And so, to be honest, this could be a really interesting point where we can see how different drivers approach this, whether drivers slowly build up to their speed, just understanding and, you know, getting confident in their pace, whether, well, we can see a lot of people following each other very closely at the moment, just now heading down the hill again, whether people want to stay close to follow the person in front, use them as, okay, they braked at this point, I'm going to brake 2 meters later and get a little advantage on them, because I know that they might be taking it a little bit easier. I'm just going to hold on for another 10 meters and then I'm going to put my brakes on. Or whether somebody wants to try and go out right at the front and just have that bit of clean air, especially then out of turn 1 and down that back straight. Huge opportunities for slipstreaming. They are a position, you know, sitting behind another car is such a huge advantage. The pace you're going to get out of it is just going to be monumental. You can just see on board with Chuckney there is struggling a little bit on the rear grip. That's another issue as well, because it's dark and because it's night. That means the air temperature is much colder, which means the road temperature is much colder, which means your tyres are much colder. Cold tyres, less grip, spinny spin into a wall. Chuckney just clipping the wall there, almost kind of proving my point as I was trying to explain it. Those tyres are going to take a couple of laps to get up to optimal temperature, at least 2 really, 1.5 if they absolutely pushed it from the word go. So the first lap is going to be a half timed lap, a half flying lap, half still warming up and like acquiring the track. I certainly notice it's lightening up already, so I know that we've started in the night. We are going to be probably at minimum the very early sort of morning, you know, the sun just rising above the horizon by the time this qualifying ends. So don't think it's going to be pitch black by the end of it, which should help the drivers acclimatise to the conditions a little bit easier. Either way, so Chuckney is going to be our first man across. He was the first to come out of the pits, so hence will be the first man to set a time. So far, it's been moderate. I think that's called for an invalidated lap time, so I think he might have had a little bit of an issue there, just running wide at a particular point. That's another interesting thing about Man Panorama. There isn't a lot of opportunity to invalidate or pick up a penalty, because if you go off the track, more often than not, you're going into a wall, and that is usually a big enough penalty as is. So just coming across the line there, it's a 202.677, almost immediately beaten by 1.5 seconds by Marco. So putting in a really strong 201.171 at the moment. As everybody else comes across, they start to put in fairly similar-ish times, not quite as quick. I think if anything, around the 202 mark is a little bit more common. Pachel 203 dead, so he's got quite a long way to go before he reaches the pace that we're seeing at the front. 1.8 seconds. Massa another 0.7 of a second back, so it's going to be a huge ask for some of these guys to try and bring themselves back up into fighting speed. But as I say, with pretty much everything in this manner, it is certainly not impossible, and I imagine most drivers will be well and truly going for it sort of over the course of the next few laps, because their sight is going to improve as well. I mean, you can immediately see this is only the 3rd time these guys have tackled these corners, and look at just how much brighter it is already. The sun's already coming up over the horizon. I said that was going to be at the end of qualifying. Oh, that's a nasty spin, and that is going to probably ruin Pachel's lap, but I'm not sure what on earth happened there. Oh, he's still the wrong way around, just trying to acclimatise. What happened to Hodorowski there? I think he must have just got a little bit too much on the power. There, oh, just round he goes. Onto the grass, I think that's what's caused it. He's just clipped the grass. and hence he is currently the wrong way around, pulls himself back over to the point of devastation, getting himself off the track where he can spin himself round and get going once again. But a nasty little accident there, already proving that, you know what, just the slightest little bit onto that grass is going to cause devastation. And I can guarantee you, Hodorowski, he won't be the last person to do that. Most certainly other people will be doing it as well. Noticing a couple of 2 minutes coming in. Currently our fastest time is a 2:09.89, so we've only just crept into the 2-minute deads, but we are there now on lap 3, so plenty of time for most drivers to, you know, get back out and, you know, they can turn it around. I know a lot of them will probably be swapping their tyres soon. Yes, a lot of them have come into the pit lane to do just that. About half and half, so maybe the next half they're going to wait for another lap, because then they can get sort of a bit more of an even split between it, between like the stints. Because obviously coming in to change the tyres, it does waste a lot of time. So you think about it, not only have you got to run the pit lane, but you've got to have the out lap and you've got to have the in lap, of which both aren't timed. If we're doing 2-minute laps, that's basically 4.5 minutes you lose from changing your tyres. Are you going to be able to use that 4.5 minutes to your advantage? I don't know. It's kind of up to you in that decision. I imagine most people... Ooh, a little bit of damage there for Chocnay. Not quite sure what caused that. Just noticing it in the bottom left-hand corner. But that will certainly affect, in particular, his corner entry. So obviously the front end plate will be damaged, as well as the left steering rack, as a sort of the left wheel, so affecting steering for the most part. And yeah, he is taking it rather slowly. So I imagine he'll be coming in to change tyres as well as fix those issues, because that will just severely slow him down. Massa currently in P3 at the moment, running quite well. I think, yep, just being let through there nicely. The car, understanding that Massa is on a flying lap, and you know what, it's probably not a wise idea to get in the way. Otherwise, there will be a rather large brawl. Right, we'll carry on watching. He is currently up on his time, so he's not exactly in a position to be coming into an improved position. So maybe he's coming into the pit lane. Yes. No. Ooh, he fakes it. Oh no, he does dive into the pit lane. That's a bit of a do I don't I, do I don't I, and eventually he decides he does. So there you go, Massa into the pits. Other drivers, Hodorowski currently out at the moment. He's running down the back straight. We've got just 6 minutes of qualifying remaining. Hodorowski is on his out lap, so next lap will be a flyer. So let's see how he gets on. It's 1.3 seconds to the front row. So it's a big ask to try and get, you know, a provisional pole position. But certainly, you know, he's P6 at the moment. If he can get P3, if he can get P4, that's a good enough improvement. That's an improvement which you can be really quite pleased with. So let's see how he gets on. It's a pretty decent first corner, wraps it through nicely. I wouldn't say it wasn't actually that wobbly, sort of what you saw. That's just general latency issues in Gran Turismo. Very wise, Hodorowski using his lights to make the driver just leaving on his outlap move out of the way, sort of as he should. Now up through the hill. So this hill is probably what is most famous about Panorama. I wouldn't really call it a hill rather than a mountain. It's so bloody tall. Into this tight left-hander. It's completely blind. You cannot see a thing. Just like this tight right, you cannot see a thing. You've just got to know where that wall is and when to change direction, and that just comes with practice, which I imagine a lot of these drivers do or have used quite a lot of their time up in practicing for this. Now, back down the hill we go into one of the tightest corners. I mean, we're traveling so quickly through such a tight section of track. You're pretty much braking for all of this section of track, and you can finally get on the power a little bit here. but you will be back on the brakes very soon. As travelling down that hill, you just get so much more momentum than you would if you were travelling up the hill. You're spending so much more time on the brakes, but it just makes it so exhilarating coming down that hill. Plus, you get that nice bit of hill there to really help pull you along, but up the hill you go, and it just slows you down a little bit more. It's a bit of a bumpy ride into the chicane, and plenty of runoff opportunity there in case you have an absolutely horrendous incident. Into the chicane they go, and out very nicely into the final braking zone. One of the two sharp left-handers, one after another, and over under the bridge and across the line. It's a 2-minute 1.642, so it's 0.3 faster. He still remains P7, but is closing the gap to Pahor, who currently sits at the top after going 2 minutes 0.539. I did see him do that lap, so very, very well done to him. That's the sort of lap he'll be most happy with. Whoa, Chokne, that's quick through sector 2. Purple sector 2 only just, but he'll be most happy with that, and running through sector 3 like an absolute machine. Very, very quick through that downhill section. Looked a lot quicker than anything I've watched on board so far. Trying to flash the lights, but I don't know whether those drivers in front would have seen. Oh no, he's already now down plus 0.23. Yep, just keeping himself out of the way nicely. Chokne is going to have a very quick final sector if he wants to really get anything out of this lap. He's 0.6 down. No, 0.6 up on Pahor. Can he get anything out of this lap? It's a little rocky or throughout that corner. It's going to be a 2-minute 1.2, so it's an ever so slight better time, but to the point where it doesn't really matter. I don't really think so. Now, another driver, Marco, he's got a bit of an issue. He's now no longer our front-running man. He's currently sat P2. Only just, though, 600ths of a second. You can't exactly call it a widespread gap, can you? That's just one teeny tiny little mistake. Getting on the power a fraction of a second earlier. That's all that difference is making. So I think for the most part, Marco should still be pleased with his position, because he's got 4.5 tenths back to the next driver. So he's not exactly in issues. Oh, that's a beautiful pink sky, isn't it? As we travel up the hill, the morning sun just illuminating the sky, the colour of his car. A deep red hue clouds his vision. Get it? Clouds, red clouds there. Awful pun. Don't ignore me. And not looking good on his time either. Plus 1.3 seconds. So I doubt this is really a time he's going to be carrying him out an awful lot, because as fast as he may be, that's not the kind of time you could just chalk back improving in the second half of a lap. It's just not happening. But heading into and towards the chicane now, travelling at a fairly decent speed, 269, 270, 271, 272 I saw as his top speed there as he entered the chicane. Very, very quick section of track there. I can't imagine what's going to happen when somebody goes for an absolute wild one. Anyway, 13 seconds of qualifying remaining. Marco is leaving it right to the very last second to see if he can get himself across the line. He's timed it to practical perfection, as there we go, 3 seconds on the timer left, and there we go. We are on the final lap now. Everybody who is out on track will be the last people to go for a lap. And this is pretty much now a wait and see. Got a couple of drivers. One driver heading into the chicane at the moment as Marco goes a 10th quicker, purple. So currently, so long as he matches his best time, he's on provisional pole position. Driver just about to come through. Let's see what he does on the timing board. it's not going to be an improvement, if at all. It might have just been a start from that, but either way, his qualifying is now over, as Marco is just so tightly keeping it very, very close to the walls, making the absolute most out of this track. It is just phenomenal to see how he's navigating it and just keeping himself so very close, using all of the track, all of the curb into the tight braking. It's a quarter of a second faster than anything he's done before, so I'll be most pleased with that. But oh, we've had a massive pile up here. Two drivers with a big issue, so that's going to lose Marco a fair bit of time, and he's been able to navigate it very, very well. Issue with that, there was no yellow flag. Probably should have been a yellow flag, and I think that might have just about ruined his lap. I think he knows it as well, and oh, what a tragedy for him. Two drivers having an absolute nightmare there. Don't know what exactly caused it. By the looks of it, I'm going to say they probably made collisions with each other, but swooping through that left-hander, you could just see them over the crest, and with a little bit of a hit of a damage, just putting some damage onto his car. That's the last thing he'd have wanted to get. And yeah, 2.5 seconds slower. That will be his qualifying over. Chokne improved significantly just whilst we were looking at that replay. He's now 0.151 seconds behind Marco, who indeed comes across the line to finish his qualifying. And just a few more drivers are just coming across the line now. Sauda Audi comes across, as I think most drivers are now just AIs. So I think I don't know who it is that is causing us to have to wait. There's someone still out there, but I don't think there could be anybody, because Marco, I mean, I know we had that incident, but I think we just saw both drivers go through. Either way, it's not the end of the world. We've only got 13 seconds until the end of the timer. So, with qualifying complete, it was fairly close at the front. Chokne just bridging that gap between sort of the slow pack and the two front runners. So, definitely put himself in the realm of a very solid position. And hopefully he can get himself maybe a position, who knows, maybe even something higher during the race. So, Pahor sits at the top of the sheets with a 2-minute .539. Then Marco, then Chokne, then Virtuosi, then Sauda Audi, then Massa, then Hudorowski, then Kaludis. And then for the second half, we got Pence, and then Kiss, and then Tassi rounding us out. So top 9 there, split by 1.2 seconds, is very, very close. Then Kiss and Tassi just struggling slightly, probably not getting any particular laps that they were massively happy with. I think Tassi, especially 4.3 seconds back, I wouldn't suggest that is exactly his optimal pace. He's probably just had issues on every single lap. And I think with a circuit like Mount Panorama, you've just got to get that banker lap in, that safety netting lap, the lap that, you know, if all else fails, at least I got a lap in. And I think that's why Tassi ended there. But join us back in just a moment's time as we get ready to start the race. Alrighty, and welcome back. We are getting ready to go for our formation lap. That's the word I'm looking for. You can tell I'm a bit tired, can't you? Right, so all the drivers, indeed we are at 5 red lights, so they will just pull away nice and slowly. They are in no major rush as they get themselves into single file as per race direction. They will just be sending out the orders ready for the beginning of the race. It's 27 laps, so after this lap, it's just 27. Now, within this race, obviously, you've got to use both a mixture of the soft and the hard tyre, and obviously, if they do have to go to wet conditions, then obviously they can use the intermediates and wet whenever they please. So all of these drivers will be sort of, I guess, going for a really simple strategy. The last thing you want to do is overwear your tyres, especially around this track, because the moment you get onto too worn of a tyre, that's just when chaos will occur. Because this is such a track which relies especially on rear grip. As we've seen it already, cars spinning round, some getting into a little bit of collisions here and there. Grip is going to be super, super important around this track. So I imagine most of the drivers will be keeping that in mind, and they probably won't be going for major undercuts or major overcuts because you just want to keep those tyres in as best operating window as you can get. Otherwise, it's just going to cause an absolute nightmare. So, all of the drivers are just going to be... Notice a lot of the drivers are shaking the car about a little bit. That is just to put heat into the tyres, additional friction, additional rolling resistance equals additional heat. Hence why going around these corners and just creating corners on the straights, just keeping those tyres up in a bit more of an operational window. So that means that once they pull away, they should be pretty much at complete racing conditions. And the first racing lap doesn't have to be an additional warm-up lap. So, Pahor will lead us off, indeed as he started on pole position. And Marco will be attempting to get past as soon as he physically can. I doubt there's going to be many moves into turn one. It's quite a short straight. So I'm going to say turn 2 is going to be an absolute nightmare. Turn 2 and the first time up the hill, nightmare fuel. There's just going to be people going for moves. There's going to be dive bombs. I can already feel it. Something, if we get through the first lap without an absolute catastrophe, that would be amazing. That'd be wonderful. But this is obviously such a tight and, for a lot of it, single file track. When people do go side by side, not only are they like a lot slower, so much more prone to accidents. You think getting on the power is a little bit rough. Getting on the power a little bit too early is a bit rough when you single file. Trying to do it to somebody next to you when you don't have the room to correct. All of a sudden, both you and him and everybody else that was behind is now all of a sudden in a wall with damage. It's just... Don't get me wrong, my experience of racing on Mount Panorama isn't quite as professional as these guys, so I hope that something like that doesn't occur. But it certainly well can. Okay, so most of the drivers now up into double file. And we will be waiting for the green light to show as we come around this corner. Keeping to the strict speed limit. Waiting for the moment that little sign comes in the bottom left-hand corner. There's the green lights. We are away. And it's going to be Pahor that leads comfortably into turn 1. He's not going to have too much of a threat, but Cosne is going to go down the inside of Marco. Is he going to be able to get that move done at all? There's a driver already off into the gravel. That's going to push him right to the very back of the grid almost immediately. Just in the middle here as well, Kaludis is going on a move, and Marco's going to try and retake that lead on Cockney into turn 2. He's got the inside line. Is he going to be able to go for the move? Yes, he is. That's an absolutely fantastic move. It's just round the outside. Goes Sauder Audi. Little push through for Virtuosi. That might actually even help him a little bit. Now he's going to have to go all the way around the outside with Sauder Audi. There's a little bit of contact made there. I think the Greekman might have ever so slightly hit the wall, but Sauder Audi does indeed get just enough space to sneak his way through into P4 there. So already a bit of a gap forming between P3 and P4. We're almost getting that split fairly quickly. Hopefully it's not too bad, as Massa has recovered pretty nicely. He's now just sat off of the back of Tassi, so not like he's multiple seconds behind. He's still within a good fight. Excuse me, Marco is doing pretty well to keep on the back of Pahor. Pretty much by themselves at the moment. Chuckney, 2.4 seconds that gap already after a single lap. So these two drivers look like they are going to pull away very, very quickly. So have a quick look at what happened at the very, very start. A lot of people going 2 by 2. Massey, I think, just getting a little bit of contact there. That's probably what caused him to just not... It did seem like a bit of an odd incident, so that does make sense for it to be a bit more contact related. I don't know who the contact was made by, but there definitely looked to be a bit of a shake on the car. Pahor nearly a second out from Marco at the moment, who's comfortably sat in P2. Chokne is getting backed up to the midfield a little bit more here, as by the looks of it, Kaludis is going to go to the inside of Pence. Pence is going to have to try and get a bit of a switchback, and I think that's an absolutely amazing switchback he's just pulled off there. That is unbelievable. I love a good switchback, and that has been exactly what I was looking for. In fact, if anything, Kiss might be able to pull one off. No, he's ever so slightly too far back. But either way, just take a little look at this. So, car in front, he's going to stay to the left, stay to the left. You're going to open that position by using the pit lane entry. He's just a little too late on the brakes, and it just allows him to switch back and get back through. So yeah, a really good way of opening the race up and being able to get yourself onto the inside line by just using a little bit of the pit lane entry, but just ever so slightly too late on the brakes, and it just caused a little bit of a nightmare. Oh, he's just a bit too early on the power. Luckily, still in the right direction, so it's not the be-all end-all, but lost the place there, Kaludis. He's now down to P9, so he'll have a bit of work to get done. 1.2 seconds as well back to Massa, who is trying to regain these positions that he lost during the very start of the race. Just trying to look to capitalise on maybe a Pence mistake or get him down the back straight. I imagine it could be a good opportunity to do so, but you can see through the brakes just how close you can get to the car behind. And now look, good acceleration. It was a slight wobble from Pence, and that's going to allow Massa to swoop through around the outside, and it's not even much of a struggle. I imagine Pence will now begin to catch up. Now he's in the slipstream, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it quickly enough. No, he's not. Just behind as well, Kaludis beginning to have a bit of pressure put on him, so he'll have to be watching out very carefully for that as well. So, as of right now, fairly quiet out on track. Marco, 1.2 seconds now, so he's getting into a little bit of no man's land here, where he's got 1.2 to the car in front and 6.2 to the car behind. So I could put a good guess in about who's going to win this race, or at least who's going to be the top two in this race. Because unless either of these two have any fatalities, like proper nasty crashes, they're finishing one. So, I mean, 6.6 seconds in the first 4 laps. If they can keep that kind of progression up, no one really stands all that much of a chance. I can't see anybody else being able to come back from that as well. I mean, if you were quick enough to be able to keep up with them, you would have gotten past everybody by now. Interestingly enough, though, Marco just going faster and faster still through these sectors. He's catching up to Pahor, but for some reason sort of dropped back a little bit as well. So I'm not too sure sort of where he sits, whether he sits as roughly the same pace as Pavel, but has had a little bit of a bad stint, whether he's slightly faster and he's had quite a bad stint, or what, or how these two are going to line up during, I say, the second half of this race. The 6/7 that we've got left of it. We're a seventh of the way through the race. So most of the drivers now should be roughly not too concerned about sort of their position, because there is time to bring it back and there is time to turn things around. I think fight for P3 is going to be really interesting, because Rumpel with Massa right now, there's 5 seconds behind to Pence. So from Massa in P7 to Chokne in P3 is split by the square root of not a lot of time, right? About 6-ish seconds, of which all the drivers are pretty closely condensed. We've got 7, 6, 5, 4, and then Chokne is just down in front in P3. Interesting enough though, I think Massa is going to be the man to try and make a progression through this little back. Yes, it is Massa. Nice little move down the inside of Hudorowski, gets himself a P6. I'll be most happy with that. 1.3 to the next driver in front. And as I say, yes, so from Chokne down to Hudorowski, pretty much an open game. Anybody could essentially have any of those positions. And they're all quite interesting, quite important positions rather than interesting, I'd say. As there you go, just a nice little replay of that move. They're all quite important positions because the gap in points between P3 and P7 is a lot. we'll put it that way. There is a sizable gap between the amount of points each of those drivers will receive. So actually getting positions made and getting moves done, as Massa is indeed proving to do, because he's just caught up to Virtuosi through that through the hill. Is he going to be able to go for a move? He's just trying to get out of the slipstream and get himself in front, but they are pretty much running at identical pace now. Oh, maybe a little touch on the Greekman. Is he going to be able to possibly get a switchback? I don't think, no, he's not, but Massa already proving that he is interested in getting past and doesn't want to hang about too long to try and do it. But getting maybe a little bit overly anticipated in his move could be a recipe for a bit of disaster. So I think pretty much keep watching Massa, to be honest, because he looks like he's on a bit of a rampage. He wants to get past a lot of people very quickly, doesn't he? In he goes. Is it going to work? It's not going to work. No, that's never going to work, but the switchback could work. I think it is. He's going to have to try and take it all the way around the outside unless he goes and tries another switchback. No, I think he is going to just slot in there. He's forced Virtuosi off of a slightly worse line, but just a good defending from the Greekman has managed to keep himself in front and fairly comfortably as well. The Hungarian Massa is going to have to do something a little bit different, a little bit more almost provocative to Virtuosis to, you know, try and get him to do something a bit more rash, a bit more radical. Usually those kinds of decisions do lead to mistakes, so I'd say that that's weirdly quite a good idea. I wouldn't usually say that. Usually, you know, sometimes it's actually quite good to be radical, but around a track where it's a uniform track per se, you need to take this line at this point, you need to hit the brakes at this point here. There isn't much wiggle room at Mount Panorama as sort of to adapt for driving styles. There is the Mount Panorama driving style, and it's sort of the only way you can go quickly around this track. And I think Massa is finally going to be able to get this move done. Into the braking zone they go, and indeed Massa stands in front after that hurdle. Impressive stuff from the driver, because he's now clawing through the pack, doing a really good job at getting himself through the pack. So there we go, up to P5 now. Remember, at turn 1, he was last. So he's gone from, I'm going to say roughly around about this position. I don't remember his exact qualifying position. But roughly in the middle of the pack to dead last to back to being in the middle of the pack again within 6 laps. I mean, you can't complain, can you? That's a good running. Just trying to read this race at the moment. It's very interesting sort of how it's panning out. Massa's already right on the back of Audi as well, can I say, who isn't that far from Chocnay either. So I think Massa's going to be a huge threat to Chocnay, if at all Chocnay is much of an issue for him, perhaps. Massa is just running at such exceptional speeds right now. But I worry, what's that doing to his tyres? Is his tyres wearing considerably faster than other people's? The racing softs don't look to be wearing that quickly at all. Think about it, we've done 6 laps of racing so far. And what, the rear right is a little bit worn. It's just sort of scratching the surface of tyre deck. It's not looking bad at all, is it? I think it could. I mean, it's not going to be a no-stopper. Everybody's got to stop. But I don't think the stop is going to be quite as crucial as we originally planned it. As I think, here we go, Massa. Can he get this move done? It's exactly the same as he did last race. And indeed, he gets it done. So Massa just picking the entire grid apart and getting really, really good overtakes done with surprisingly little stress. So now Chocnay 1.5 in front, now 1.4, now 1.3.5, now 1.3, now 1.2.5, and Massa's really quick. Massa's really quick, man. It's a second already. He knows this track, and he knows it well. Very, very well. His race pace is just amazing, to say the very least. Not quite up to fastest lap conditions just yet. Marco currently holds the fastest lap at 2:01.103, which is a good time. That's a really good time for a race. Think about it. We had a 2:05 for quali. So with extra fuel and slightly worn tyres, at 2:01.1, that's good going. That's exactly really where you'd want to be if you were doing like a quali run on race pace. And he's just doing it lap after lap. Look at it. So it's from lap 4 a 2.2, then a 2.39, and then a 2.37, and then a 2.9. So obviously he's slowed down a little bit because he's been in traffic, but he's got really strong pace when he's not in traffic. And I think he's going to go for the exact same move again. And I think it's going to work exactly the same as it did last time. Massa, there we go. After 7 laps, nearly 8 of racing conditions, he's gone from being towards the front to right at the back to up to P3. Like that. Mental. Absolutely mental. As there we go, Chocnay coming into the pit lane there. So signaling for him that his tenure on the tyres is over. He was on the hards, so he's probably seeing how the softs are running and thinking, oh, actually, you know what, let's go on to the softs. They're clearly running very, very well. I don't want to run on these hards any longer than I physically have to. So they're getting off them right now. A lot of drivers are getting off those hards, actually. Vetrosis, Hodorowski, Kaludis, and Kiss all coming into the pits. Roughly the same amount of fuel and exactly the same tyres. As there we go. Sauda and Hodorowski switch to the softs. Now Kaludis switches to indeed the softs as he leaves the pit lane. And I imagine exactly the same for Pence and Kiss. Indeed, it is. Kaludis has just picked up a 3-second time penalty. Not good at all. 3 seconds is absolutely detrimental, especially when it comes to Gran Turismo, because it's more like a 10-second time penalty of 3 seconds. So to say he won't be best pleased with that is a severe understatement. Personally, I think penalties should be either A, taken in the pits before you change tyres, or B, just post-race. Doing this slowing down thing is just a bit stupid to me. Just taking a look at Virtuosis now. He's on the racing softs. He's just come out on the softs. And he's got solid amount of sort of space between himself. Saudi Audi currently sat just behind. It's 1.4 at the moment, so fairly competitive between the two of them. But Saudi Audi and Jodorowsky just closer still. Now, obviously, these drivers have come into the pits, so that 47 second, nearly 48 second time difference isn't quite as extreme as you think it is. It only looks that extreme because these guys have come into the pit lane. So don't be too wary about that, oh my god, it's 40 seconds already and we're not even halfway through this race. Trust me, it ain't. It's not that bad. So yeah, these guys on their outlaps looking fairly strong for an outlap as well. So that's what's that, a 103, 104, 105, 106, 107 in the end. I think for an outlap that's really strong going, because you get that slow start, a tighter corner, a lower top speed by the time you reach the end of this bit of track. So for it to be, what, 7 seconds off the pace, that's good going. They've clearly got the better tyre choice. Soft tyres just look to be completely overruling in comparison to anything else in this race. Obviously, the wet tyres are completely obsolete at the moment because it is dry. But for those hard tyres, they just look not exactly up to scratch. They're just not performing the way that the teams were probably hoping. They're just too slow, and the soft tyres are performing too well, if that makes sense. Sorry, let me try and explain this. The softs are working in such a manner that the hards look worse than they actually are. The hards aren't bad, the softs are just very good, if that makes any sense at all. So, at the moment, we got on board with Jodorowsky and Saudi Audi just 7/10 in front. These guys have been fairly close now for the last sort of 2-ish laps or so, just as they've been coming out of the pits. And I think they're pretty much running like for like on pace. So I wouldn't expect anything particularly major as of yet, but something definitely could be coming very soon, I'm going to say. I'm going to think one little mistake from one of these drivers, and I think it's either going to be a very nice day for Saudi Audi, because he's just being able to run away a little bit and probably catch up to Virtuosis just in front of him. Probably roughly the same distance, I'm going to say. Or it's going to be a lovely day for Jodorowsky, because he's going to be able to have the opportunity to overtake, or at least be in a region where overtaking is a bit more feasible. Because Jodorowsky, he's just that far back that you think, yeah, no, you can't make a move from there. By the time you're hitting the corner, they're halfway through it. It's just that bit too late to try and go for a move. But it's not the end of the world. He's just got to try and catch up a little bit. I think, just as we've said so far, the consistency around this track is going to be what's important. The drivers just need to put in comfortable laps again and again and again, because bad consistency of laps, having one lap which is really quick and then a lap that's absolutely terrible, then a pretty decent lap and then a mediocre at best, it's much better to be solid, because then when it comes around to actually overtaking a car, then you can unlock a little bit more potential and, just sneak past them, and then just drop it back down again. I think you can almost... Oh, Pachel's in. So he's coming in from the soft tyres now. So maybe those soft tyres are wearing a little bit. Let's see. obviously he's going to come out on the hards, but I'm interested in to see where he's going to come out. Is he going to come out in any difficult situations? Because that mid-pack is heading towards the chicane, so he's probably not going to reach them. What will nearly reach him, though, is going to be Massa, who's not that far behind him at all now. What's that? 2.7 seconds, 2.6 seconds back. Massa, I'm guessing, must be yet to pit in that case. Quickly check Massa, see how his tyres are looking. Because he surely hasn't pit yet if he's been able to close in that much power. What's helpful about this, though, is we can get a grasp of how long pit stops take. So they roughly take in the realm of about 17.5 seconds, because roughly that's kind of the gap Pahor came out to Marco. I can't exactly remember the precise difference between those two times, so do excuse me if I haven't got this right slap bang on perfect, but roughly in the realm of 17 seconds. So if you can see a driver that's sort of between 15 and 18 seconds, you can think, oh, there could be a little fight going on here. Even if there doesn't actually be a change as he leaves the pits, there is a possibility of a bit of a scrap, which is, you know, what we love to see. Just looking towards the mid-pack then, and Jodorowsky is currently sat in P7, still behind Sadaradi, and hasn't changed in the way of that sort of timing. They still sit roughly around that second margin. They've pretty much been there for, what, the last 3-4 laps now? So doing a good job at matching the pace. I think definitely helps push drivers, having two drivers that are very similarly matched on pace having to fight each other, because it just puts on just enough pressure that it starts to, you know, become a little bit worrying for some of the drivers. And I think that's probably the case here for Jodorowsky and Sadaradi. So they keep pushing each other to keep that gap exactly the same. They get faster and faster and faster and faster, which we can literally see in the over to the right hand side, because the fastest lap that Jodorowsky's done so far was the last lap he did, a 201.873. Before that it was a 201.9, and just now he's only gone and put in a 201.567. So he's just gone and put in the fastest lap he's done so far. All the laps before were 204s, 205s, 207s. He had a 218, that's a bit of a nightmare, and, you know, 204. All of a sudden, not only has he obviously swapped to the softs, which is going to be a big benefit and a big reason why that time's come down, but importantly, it keeps coming down. Even when tyre wear is getting worse and worse, it is continuing to come down. So these drivers are clearly pushing each other. That's going to lead to increased tyre wear, but it is going to lead to an increased race pace, but it's also going to lead to an increased risk of significant damage to at least sort of, you know, one of the cars. One of the cars could very much end up spinning around in a circle and having a rather nasty accident, especially up in this section of the track where I imagine they'll probably be pushing the hardest. Look at that, just the work that front left suspension is having to do as it goes over that little ridge of a hill. And I imagine for these drivers, just nailing that bit of the track is so much more important than any other part of this circuit, because a mistake up there, one bad corner leads to every other corner after it being bad. Because, you know, you don't quite get the entry speed right on this lap, then your braking for the next corner is wrong, then your turning point for the next corner is wrong after that, and then all of a sudden you can't shift the balance, so you have to brake more, so you get a really slow corner there. It's all of a sudden just one little mistake right at the front of that section just leads to absolute nightmare for the second half. So they'll be actively working against that and just trying to meander their way through, just try and keep it as calm as physically possible. Looking ever so slightly further up, and I say literally ever so slightly, I mean to the two places above them. Agreement Virtuosis is currently just 4-ish tenths behind Chutney, who's doing quite a good job in P4 at the moment, as Massa has indeed got past Pahor, interestingly enough. There was about, what, a 3-second gap between those two when Pahor came out, and now Massa's in front. So that's an interesting development that, you know, Massa's been able to make the most of the timing that he's got. But yeah, Virtuosis beginning to put pressure on Chutney, who for the most part didn't have to put up with much pressure until Massa showed up. He was kind of sat in a little bit of a league by himself, in which the cars in front were like 6-7 seconds in front, but the cars behind were like 2 seconds behind. So there's not an awful lot you can do. You're sort of just by yourself for a lot of that time. So it's important for those drivers to, you know, be comfortable not being sort of in a position where you're constantly under threat. For some drivers, that's a really big driving factor for them. So having that car behind can really put them into the mindset of being able to get better times because they're being pushed by them. For other drivers, you know, being alone is an absolute wonder spell because you can just focus on the exact point you want to brake, the point you want to corner, accelerate out of. You haven't got to worry about someone being behind you. That's too much stress. I don't know what it is with Chutney, but he's had to put up with both of them during this race because he had it a little nice and quiet earlier on, and now Virtuosis is right on the back of him as we move on to lap 15. We are over halfway through this race now as well, which is always quite a nice thing to say. It brings a little bit of hope, a little bit of confidence to a lot of these drivers. They often quite like the fact that it's halfway through the race because they can begin to judge the race a little bit better at that point. You know, they can understand sort of how to continue with the rest of their race as he just about gets through there. I didn't think that was going to work. I thought that was going to end up in something going awfully wrong, but they have managed to both keep it on track and kept it on track nicely as well. But just see there, as the Greekman came in, he was quite far back for nearly the entire section of the corner, and that's just what was causing a bit of an issue for me, that it just seemed a little bit unnerving, to sort of say the very least, in that something being that far back can just be worrying, in a sense that, is the other driver just going to cut across and you're going to just go straight in and T-bone him because he doesn't know you're there, or something along those lines. Either way, it can just be kind of a bit of a nightmare fuelish. And finally, I think this is the closest they've gotten so far, isn't it? Hudorowski and Salaraldi currently splits by half a second rather than their usual second. So, should be interesting to see how they get on. It's quarter of a second, and I think he is going to go for it. Oh, Chone looked to be going really slowly through that section. Was he serving a penalty? I think he must have been serving a penalty. Because he's lost lots and lots of time very quickly. Let's say there, yeah, it is, half a second time penalty. That's, you know what, something didn't quite look right there, and yeah. In fact, if anything, that's quite scary for Hudorowski, though he would have known that he had that penalty. But had he not, had that little thing come up that, you know, that didn't, that says he's got half a second penalty, if that hadn't come up, that was terrifying to have to quickly move out of the way. Because, what was it? Sadaradi didn't ghost because he never travelled slow enough to, you know, go into the ghosting. And all of a sudden, Hudorowski, with a little bit of space, is really being able to use it. Purple sector, purple first sector has already started to pull away from Sadaradi. 2 seconds that gap already, and I think for the most part he's sticking at roughly the same kind of pace as Chokne, so maybe it will be a few more laps until we see something happen there. Hopefully we get some more action, because I think most arguments, I say arguments, fights on track have been settled now. Sadaradi and Hudorowski, they were going for a long time. And now have finally let up. Pahor has got actually quite a worrying situation now where, the gap to pit is 17-ish seconds we deducted. It's nearly a 30-second gap to him and Marco. That's not good. Marco is yet to pit, I believe. So he's still sat sort of by himself towards the front. But Massa, 9 seconds. So he's beginning to creep up on Marco's time. Yeah, Marco's still yet to pit. They've been lapping consistently 01s and 02s. 02s recently in the last couple of laps, as those racing softs are beginning to struggle. That rear right in particular, and the rear front as well. But the rear right will be probably the biggest issue, because kicking out of some of these corners and just trying to keep your foot in, especially trying to keep your foot in there, kind of get back on the power there, that's going to be scary with tyres that are beginning to get that worn out. So I wonder how long is it going to be before Marco opts to come into the pit. Personally, he hasn't got too much to worry about as of yet. He can still wait a couple more seconds, as if, to try and come in, because he'll want to keep on these softs for as long as possible. So for as long as it starts feeling uncomfortable, he needs to just be comfortable in the car, and I think he'll be happy with sort of whatever result comes his way, because especially around a track like this, you've got to have that synchronization with your vehicle. You've got to be, I try not to use this phrase, but you've got to be one with the car. You've got to understand what the car wants you to do, and almost the car has to understand what you want to do for it. So it's this balancing act where I think most of the drivers have got it. Whoa, that's a bold move. That's a very bold move. Jodorowsky's managed to get himself in front after a very late brake dive bomb. I'm looking at this from the leading car. He's coming through, minding his business as if nothing's going to happen, and he's just sent it in honestly the most spectacular move that I've seen in this race so far. Very, very well done for the driver. I mean, that is utterly fantastic, isn't it? Jodorowsky is on one. He's managed to keep himself in front as well through that back straight, and unless we get a move of similar nature, that will probably be the race, the best pass of the race, in my opinion. Undoubtedly, because that just, it seemingly came with nowhere as well. It was like, oh yeah, no, he'll trail him out of this, and then he'll go from down the main straight like everybody else has done so far. But no, he's just absolutely sent one, and props to him, because that was a quality overtake. Oh well, maybe everything isn't quite so settled as we originally presumed, as Jodorowsky fancies making some absolutely amazing dive bombs. What's even more interesting, there wasn't a hint of contact in that either, which for a section like that you'd expect them to at least bump off each other a little bit, play a bit of bumper cars, but no, nothing, absolutely nothing. That looks completely clean. Even on replay that looked clean. So yeah, really top draw stuff. Top draw indeed. Issue with that though is no, there's not a lot else to sort of talk about at the moment. Damage is pretty prevalent at the moment. I think quite a few drivers have picked up damage. Rumble, obviously we're watching Chock now at the moment. He's got front wing and front right issues, which will primarily affect steering. Oh, is this the move again? Oh, this is the move again. Let's watch it in the bottom right. This is just a fantastic move, because it's just so unexpected, and I think that unexpectedness, you thought he was just going to follow him through, but I think he sort of realised, oh, hang on a minute, we can actually go for a move here, you know. And so fair play, went for one. Pahor's into the pits as well, actually. Interestingly enough, he's coming back in, change of tyres, back onto the softs. So he wants to finish this race on the soft tyre and try and gain as much time as he can after quite a difficult stint on the hard tyres. Was there a bit of damage to it as well? I'm not too sure. Just watching him come down that main straight, nothing of too much concern either way, but he is going to finish this race on the softs. He's come out P7, which probably isn't really where he wanted to sit, but yeah, look at the issues he's had over the last couple of laps. He's been consistently lapping that 204, and it's just been struggles for him, hasn't it? You know, if you're 3 seconds slower for, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lap, 3 seconds slower, you're 15 seconds. 15 seconds is lost, which is about right. It was 17 seconds, and then plus another 15, he was about 30 seconds out. That's bang on the money. So, obviously those tyres have not done him justice at all. So he needs to turn that around sharpish, and I think that is exactly his plan. He won't want to be doing anything different to that. Why would he? So, he's now got to try and make the absolute most of these soft tyres through the second half of this race. Well, this last sort of section of the race. We've got nearly 9 laps remaining. So he's got time to definitely try and bring, you know, his positions up. I think he's going to be on the back of Sadaradi soon. He's, what, 1.2 at the moment. He can definitely close that gap a little bit. Obviously, don't get me wrong, it's not going to be an easy task, but it's certainly plausible, especially on those fresh softs, should help. And significantly, to say the very least. Now down to a second already, so that's 2/10 off. So it's certainly plausible. So we'll be seeing that occur fairly soon, I imagine, if projections stay the same. Yeah, purple sector 1. That kind of explains everything. Those fresh soft tyres with the significantly less fuel these guys are carrying now, because we're sort of towards the end of the race. It's definitely going to be in favour for Pahor. He might be able to take home the fastest lap this time round, and I wouldn't be surprised if no one else could beat it, unless for any reason there's anybody else on a set of hard tyres at the moment, which I don't think there is. There might be, but I don't think there is. I think most people are on the soft compound of tyre at the moment, including Marco, who's been out there for the entirety of this race, and I think he might be the only driver, don't quote me on that, but he might be the only driver to have done that so far. And he's still comfortably leading, to be honest. I don't know the exact gap. I haven't seen it in a couple of laps. It was about 8 seconds back on, what, lap 16, 17-ish. So certainly could have changed within that time, but he's probably in no major threat to make a move as of yet. But Massa's looking in a really good position, and I think Pahor's low. He had a look, didn't he? He's just wiggling under braking a little bit to desperately get that car to slow down, because it was just, is he going to be able to go for the move? He's going to have to go around to the outside here if he wants to get past. Is he going to be able to swing it around the outside? It's good defending by Sadaradi, but it's a slight wiggle on exit. That's going to open the right-hand side of the track for Pahor to try and get through. He's going to have to switch to the other side. Sadaradi decides not to defend. Pahor swoops through and just leaves ever so slightly enough room for Sadaradi to not run off. But Pahor up into P6 for now. Good little move. So he's gone round the outside here onto the main straight. Slight slip up. That's allowed him to get the better exit of the two. Sadaradi goes into a defensive position before electing to head back onto the racing line, thinking that he hadn't got too much to deal with. He's only just left enough room, but enough room still. Nevertheless, it is still enough room. So in the end, that lap time was only a 20.8. So still Marco with the fastest lap. And oh, just look, these guys had a little bit of a contact made there. I don't know what happened there, but obviously picked up a bit of damage whilst doing so. So he won't be best pleased with that. That's a front bumper and front left. So now Sadaradi has got that issue to deal with. So that's just after the move's been made. And he's just braked ever so slightly too late and picked up the damage. You could tell that he was trying to move out of the way of the car in front as well. He knew that he was about to run into the back of them and he didn't want to ruin their race. So he's just tried to quickly kick it to the left before swinging it. Marco's in the pit lane, finally, and so is Massa. So they'll both be swapping to the hard tyre to finish this race. There is a 16-second gap between Massa and Virtuosis. Is that a big enough gap? I think Massa's going to come out behind. I think he's coming out behind. They change his tyres. Yes, he is. Virtuosis is out. So, Marco is out with 20 seconds to spare. Virtuosis P2, Hudorowski P3. Massa in the end is coming out P4, but on hard tyres, which is just going to be a nightmare fuel. Marco's going to now just be losing time now till the end of the race. He'll just be losing time. So for him, damage limitations. Completely and utterly damage limitations. Benefit for him is Virtuosis is on slightly worn soft tyres, so he's lapping sort of 202s, low 202s at the moment. What was Marco lapping just prior to coming into the pit lane? I'm going to say probably roughly in the same region. But Massa's down in P4 at the moment. He's pretty much out of the running contention, I'm going to say, because Hudorowski in front is pulling away at the moment, and maybe Chokne might be able to come home and steal that move once again. But Pahor is still down in P6, looking incredibly unlikely to catch up. It's a 10-second gap between him and P2. I think the gap to Marco, that's long gone now. But the gap to P2, I mean, he'd have to become a bit of an overtaking maestro. But it's plausible. What are we on? We're on lap 22 of 28. So we'll be moving on to lap 23. So we have all the 23, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we'll have 6 laps to go when we hit the start-finish line. Is that long enough? I don't think so. Either way, Pahor is going to go for it at into the chicane. Sorry, I don't know its exact term, but Chokne is going to swing around the outside and he's going to get himself into a great position to try and defend into the final corner. Can he get back into place? Yes, he can. The switchback, though, is on for Pahor with a slight mistake there by Chokne. He might open the door for him. Pahor's going to be able to go down the inside here at 1. It seems like a replica of his move before, and indeed it is. Not quite as tight on exit this time round, but a very well-made move nevertheless. So he went to the inside at the chicane, comfortably got it done, but just swung it out wide a bit too much. That allowed Chokne to stay in the battle into the final corner, where good corner entry, maybe even a slight little tap, but I think a little wiggle, maybe just a slight loss of traction out of the final corner. That led to Pahor being able to swoop it down the inside at turn 1 and get the move made. So Pahor up to P5 and is gaining significantly on Marco. So I think we'll give it the rest of this lap, and then I want to see what Marco did lap 23, because obviously 22 would have been his first time out, so that wouldn't, kind of difficult to sort of judge. Yeah, it's a 209, Virtuosis is a 202. So low 202s, and then what's it going to be? It's going to be 5 laps. He's going to need to basically be going 3 seconds a lap quicker. So long as Marco is a sub 205, he's relatively safe. So we'll see what he comes across this lap and sort of judge it based on the fact that, there we go, Marco across the line. We'll check that just after we watch this, because Pahor's going to go for the move on Massa. launches it up the inside at the chicane. No chance of Massa getting the switchback move done this time round. He's got that down to a fine arts, Pajo, and will be getting himself up into P4. So he's on the hunt for a podium position. Now, Marco completed lap 23 a little while ago. Let's quickly check up on him. I want to see, in particular, his lap time for lap 23. So, what's it at the moment? Oh, improvement for Pahor. Hopefully we can see Marco soon to sort of, you know, just be able to judge how he's sitting, because I think even though that gap is quite large, as I say, it's only 3 seconds per lap. Sort of, it's plausible. I mean, we saw it with Pahor. We saw him lapping 204s when everyone else was lapping 201s, when Marco was lapping 201s. That's a 3-second gap. But Marco, as we say, is a quick driver. He was lapping 201s. Virtuosis is lapping 202s. I know that's probably only about half a second, but that could make such a crucial thing, because then not only is Virtuosis travelling half a lap slower, but Marco's probably travelling half a lap quicker. He's probably maybe only doing 3.5s rather than the 4s. So it's really hit or miss with this. But it's relatively quiet in the midfield, and hopefully it's going to be sort of, I don't know, roughly, I think for Marco, he needs it to be roughly around about 13, 14 seconds. And I think it probably is roughly around about that much. I've just roughly counted it as to when they hit the chicane. Around 14 seconds, which would literally, he's going to scrape this win by sticking to these tyres. I mean, he could be brave and try and come into the pits, whack on a pair of softs, but I don't think that's probably a wise idea. I think it's probably wiser to just try and run it to the end on the hards, even if they are the slower tyre, because okay, you get some risk, but you also get a little less risk. I think is pretty much all you're getting out of it. It's just less risk than what you'd do if you pitted. So I probably wouldn't advise that. On board with Chotney at the moment, he's trying to catch up to Massa, has a 6/10 gap. The rear right is looking destroyed, isn't it? Struggling a little bit through that corner, I think, as duty of that rear right. The rear left is significantly better. We've already noticed there's a lot harder left turns than there are right turns, hence why the left tyre is significantly more worn than the right. But Chotney doing a pretty good job at the moment of just catching up and putting Massa into quite a dangerous position here where he could get past. Massa navigating well, but just losing bits of time here and there to Chotney, who's just being able to capitalise on all of those tiny little differences in pace. And now coming out of the corner should be a good opportunity to try and get a move done. 3/10 the gap as they go down the hill. Is it going to be enough? It's going to be 2.25 down to 2. I don't think it's quite going to be enough. Really, you want to be going side by side by now. But he could go for a dive bomb into the corner. I think it's going to be slightly defensive. No, it's not. Massa's going to leave the door open. He's going to have to get ever so slightly on the grass, maybe a little bit on the grass for Massa as well. But they continue going side by side. Oh, Chotney's well and truly onto the grass there, bumping around all over the gaff. So he is not going to be able to get that position as of just yet. He will be moving on to lap 26 of 28. So just 3 laps remaining for these guys as we round out towards the end of this race in the beautiful bright sunshine of Australia. That's the words I wanted to say. There we go. I don't know why the country's just named completely cut out of my mind there, but there we go. Saudi currently right on the back of Chokne as well. So all of a sudden, Chokne was trying to press for a move on Massa and now has slightly bigger issues to deal with. Just trying to see. I mean, thing is, right, is Saurabhi and Chokne are teammates. So I don't know how they're going to play this game, because right now they're in a position where they're getting the same amount of points, team points, no matter which way round they finish. So is it wise to fight, or is it wise to boost each other along and try and take Chokne? Because trying to get past another driver, or, you know, boost past and get past both Chokne and sorry, no, using Chokne and Saurabhi to get past Massa. There we go. That's the right way around. Because they could certainly do that. They could certainly work together, you know, give each other a little boost in the final 2 laps of this race and get themselves across the line, even if just one of them gains that bit of a position. Nope. Instead, Saurabhi's going to go for an absolute dive bomb of dreams. Wow. Great timing. I mean, you're so far back in that position. He's a good 20 odd meters back, and he's just sent one up the inside, and he's made it stick with very little to no contact whatsoever. So Saurabhi getting himself up into P6. Maybe he thinks he can do a better job at giving Massa a good running. But with a second between them and 2 laps remaining, it's quite a tall order. He's got to spend the rest of this lap trying to close him in, and then next lap going for it. Can he do it? I think it's definitely possible, especially with the amount of time that he's gained down that straight just in general. Obviously, he's going to have to match it. But it's certainly possible, isn't it? It is certainly possible. Indeed it is. In fact, if anything, I think he might be able to get it done this very lap. Saurabhi going to maybe look to the inside. He's probably really not a wise idea to go for a move here, but he gets very close and he does make a little bit of contact with the wall there, but I don't think it's caused him too much more damage than he already possessed. But now heading down the hill they go, and Massa will be hanging on for dear life. It'll feel very reminiscent of just a few laps ago, but all of a sudden it's the other ZIRA car, so it just swapped places. And Massa going defensive at the corner. That's going to allow for a possible nice open running for Saurabhi. He'll be able to get himself into a slightly better position. But actually, I think Massa is the biggest winner out of all of that, because the 2 cars, by the looks of it, are going to fight again. Or no, I think they're going to bump draft. I think Chokne has sort of gotten onto the idea, actually, no, we need to try and go for this position rather than fighting each other. And I think they are going to work together. And Chokne is going to put Saurabhi into a position where he could try and get a move out of this. Can he then switch to the inside? Can he go for a dive bomb like he did on his teammate a moment ago? No, the teammates are going to go side by side. Chokne's going to try and get himself through. He thinks he could do a better stab at it. Saurabhi hasn't quite got the job done that lap round, so it's going to swap once again, but this time it's an awful lot closer, isn't it? 4/10 rather than a second. Can Chokne get this move done on Massa? It's 2v1, but the 2 seem to be fighting each other as well. It doesn't make an awful lot of sense, but I think Chokne does have a good enough, a close enough fight here. Massa's going to go defensive. Chokne goes around the outside. He's going to have to try and hook it. It's not quite going to work out. And in fact, those 2 are going to continue to go side by side once again. Saurabhi, though, he's now on to Massa. Can he get it done? Oh, a big collision there as he hits the wall. And there we go. Massa all into the wall as well. It's a big collision there on the very final lap. Not sure what on earth happened there, but one car getting very tight to the wall indeed, and then another entering the track. Let's just take a quick little replay of that. So he's on the inside here, so he's going to have to go around the outside at this part of the track. Swoops through. I think a little bit of contact made there. That forces them through, and a little bit more contact made just there. I don't know. That's one for the stewards. That ain't my problem. I'm not even going to try and determine who's at fault there or how to give that away. Either way, let's cut right to our front man because he'll be crossing the line in just a moment's time. Marco has done a phenomenal job out on track, and he'll be coming across the line indeed to win here today in Australia. It was a 6-second gap in the end to Virtuosis, who comes across P2, and Hudorowski will be our man in P3. Pahor in P4, so a pretty good comeback for him after that rather unfortunate second stint that saw him come tumbling down the tables after starting on pole position. And indeed, it will be Choknay who comes across out of these three to come home. P5, Sadradi, P6, and Massa, P7. Now, don't get me wrong, I always judge it based on the final finishing order, but I imagine the stewards will certainly have something or another to say about that. But it could be put down as a racing incident. It's just an amalgamation of different things that all sort of just collectively went wrong. So quite possibly, you know, they might all end up with the exact same penalties altogether. And at that point, what difference does it make to just call it a racing incident? Because it's not going to change any of the results. But there we go. We got a couple more drivers just coming across the line. But overall, a really good race for a lot of the drivers. They've done but all drivers, as I say, have done very, very well. Great battling throughout. Lots of very tight turns, and I think still that dive bomb down the hill just before we hit the main straight, that is my overtake of the race. That is my moment of the race. And for that reason, I'll give, I don't actually remember who it was. I think it might have been Hudorowski. But whoever it was, driver of the day. But congratulations to Marco, who comes across to win here in Bathurst, Australia. Right, let's take a quick rundown. So it's Marco who won after an hour's race, the best lap of 2:01.1. Virtuosity in P2 and Hudorowski in P3. Pahor in P4, fastest lap, 2 minutes 10.778, so just 0.2 slower than his pole time. Sadaradi in P5 and Choknay in P6. Massa P7, Kiss P8. And moving on to the second half. Kaludis P9, Pence P10, and Tassi P11 rounds out the race. Now, overall, I think it was a really, really good race overall, and I think a little bit of wild action right at the very end was exactly what we needed to end off a very, very good race. So I look forward to seeing you all very next week for we go to Japan. So we're staying in, well, not staying in the same continent, but we're just heading a bit north, a couple hundred miles up to Suzuka in Japan, which is once again another cracking race. So with that, thank you all very much for watching. I've been the Car Statistics. Thank you and good night.